Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Now, it's been a while since I last uploaded, about a week, and I wanted to start uploading more consistently, and I realized I just haven't been in the mood for it. It's been a tiring past week, so I just haven't had the energy to record. I was watching back some old series and I came across once again Marvel's What If. Now, I actually only watched season 1 and a bit of season 2. But I found out that there's a third season and now season three's finished. So I decided I should make a video speaking about it, because it's actually a series I do enjoy to a point. Especially season 1. Now I've gone back and watched all 3 seasons, and I can say, well, season 1's probably the best season. I want to go through each episode, describe them, what happens in them and everything, and rank them from worst to best. Now, there will be one small caveat. The 2 final episodes of each season are always a double feature. They follow on from each other directly, and as such, I will be counting them as one episode. So, for example, in this one, the final 2 episodes are What If Ultron won and What If the Watcher broke his oath. I'm combining the 2 of them into one entry because they are one singular story, and I'd rather keep them together to speak about them. And their placement on the list will be the same placement on the list. I will note if it's very noticeable that one episode's just far worse than the others, but we will see. And with all that out of the way, let's jump into what I think, at least, is the worst episode of the season. Keep in mind that none of these episodes of the first season are completely terrible, but there is moments that knock them down.
We don't do that here.
Starting off, we have episode 2 of the first season, What If T'Challa Became a Star-Lord? Now, the concept for this one is that in 1988, when the Ravagers are sent to retrieve Ego's son, they accidentally kidnap T'Challa from Wakanda. Don't know how incompetent you have to be to do that, but regardless. We jump ahead 20 years to the modern day. T'Challa's now Star-Lord instead of Peter Quill, and he's got his own team of people. Yondu actually convinced him that Wakanda was destroyed, so he has no idea about his home. And their team, the Ravagers, are approached by Nebula to get help from for stealing the embers of Genesis, so they can get rid of galactic hunger. It's a very peacekeeping mission. There is a big issue, and you'll notice it very early on, and is that Thanos is one of the Ravagers. He's one of the Guardians of the Galaxy, pretty much. This is so far off of his characterization. I mean, I think they brush aside him not wanting to do it anymore just because T'Challa's convincing enough. Like, oh, holy shit, they should have just sent Black Panther in the middle of Endgame and let him speak to Thanos. So he could have solved everything. I mean, say Infinity War. Regardless, they have to go get this from the Collector, Tanalia Tavan. Now, Tavan, they offer him the Power Stone while T'Challa tries to get the embers, but a fight does eventually break out. T'Challa finds a Wakandan spaceship in the Collector's place and realizes that they were searching for him, so it kind of causes shit between him and Yondu. They're eventually able to get the embers, and they're able to defeat Tavan. There's another moment where you see some of the stuff he's collected, and he's got things like Hera's helmet, which he uses in the battle, Captain America's shield, so this is a very dark world, I assume. And it's also hard to see how someone like him could have defeated fucking Hera. It's insane. T'Challa basically forgives Udanta, and they go to Wakanda so T'Challa can meet his family. We have a bit of an end sequence where Ego arrives on Earth to meet Peter Quill, who's working as a janitor. And that's how that ends. Don't worry, it doesn't go anywhere. You'd think it might, but it doesn't. I like the episodes that don't follow on from each other, though, because they're a bit more unique. This one's not a bad episode, but characterization-wise, a lot of it doesn't make sense. So that's why it's at the bottom of the list.
I can do this all day.
Next up, we have actually the intro to the series. Now, here's where we're introduced to this concept of different worlds, and I love what if scenarios. And this is, what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? Basically, through a convoluted turn of events, Steve Rogers is injured before he can get the super soldier serum, so Peggy Carter here kills the spy that injured Steve, and she's the one who gets the serum. She gets super enhanced, but is still banned from combat, and she's given a vibranium shield by Howard Stark. She eventually proves her heroism. She steals the Tesseract from Hydra and becomes Captain Carter. Now, this is where things deviate even more. The Tesseract's used to build Steve Rogers a suit, like an Iron Man suit, but it's called the Hydra Stomper. It's powered by the Tesseract. They go on missions together, but eventually Rogers goes missing. Similar to, in a way, Bucky went missing with Steve. They eventually are able to find Rogers, and they're going into a Hydra base. They fight the Red Skull. The Red Skull uses the Tesseract to open a portal, and he's killed by this tentacle monster, and Carter closes the portal to force it back. We jump ahead 70 years. The Tesseract opens another portal, and Carter comes through to meet Nick Fury. So she wasn't frozen in ice. All in all, it's not a bad intro to the series, but trust me when I say you are going to get so fucking sick of this character. I don't mind Peggy Carter in this episode. One episode, one-off, and maybe, of course, the finale of the show. Not bad. To have her just constantly come back over and over and over in the other seasons, it takes away from her, and she's not a good character. I mean, we even saw her in live action in Multiverse of Madness, and she got beat up like a fucking idiot by Wanda. So yeah, I don't really care.
Hammer? Hammer?
Yeah, we can tell you're hammered. It's pretty obvious.
Next up, we have a bit more of a fun episode. We have episode 7 of the series, and that is, what if Thor was an only child? So the big change in this universe is that Odin discovers Loki abandoned and returns him to the Frost Giants. Doesn't take Loki as his own child. Now, without the influence of Loki, Thor grows up to be pretty much a party boy. He fucks around, he parties, he doesn't really care. Odin goes into his Odin sleep and his wife is away, so Thor goes to Earth and just has a huge party with aliens from all over. He grows close to Jane Foster in this universe. They end up joining the party, but the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. realizes that Thor's antics are causing a bit of destruction, so she summons Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's not able to beat Thor without using her full powers, so they try and get away from all the people, because if they do, it'll just kill a whole bunch of people. And Jane Foster manages to contact Frigga, Thor's mother, which is like calling his mom to break up the party. It's funny. They get ready to fight again, but Frigga contacts and says that she's coming to Earth. So Thor decides, okay, well, he's going to get in shit, so him and the Pogos clean up the entire mess. Later on, we see Thor and Foster getting closer, and he asks her out on a date, but this is interrupted when Ultron arrives, holding all 6 Infinity Stones. This is the big bad of the series, well, of this season at least, and this is our first introduction to him. We'll see a bit more of it in the following episode, but that actually goes much higher on the list.
Wakanda, 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 Wakanda.
Now we have episode 6 of the season, and that is, what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? Similar events to the first Iron Man movie, Tony Stark's ambushed by the Ten Rings, but instead he's saved by Eric Stevens, Killmonger. Killmonger helps him back to Stark Industries. Now, obviously, Tony never develops the arc reactor, never develops the Iron Man suit. Things go very differently. Killmonger exposes Obadiah Stane and helps Stark build a combat drone, which is like a humanoid drone, using vibranium. They decide to get more vibranium to create their own army, and here's we have Ulysses Claw, yeah, whatever. Rhodey gets it from him. Killmonger leaks word of the transaction to Wakanda because of Killmonger. Killmonger's playing both sides, by the way. He kills T'Challa and Cody, acting as a Rhodey, not Cody, and Rhodey, and he makes it look like they killed each other. And Stark realizes this. He confronts Killmonger. Killmonger kills him too. Makes it look like Wakanda did it. He then kills Clow, reunites with Wakanda, and now defends Wakanda from the drone army he helped create. becomes the new Black Panther, and the United States gets ready to attack again, basically going to war with Wakanda. Maybe I was saying Wakanda? No, it's Wakanda. Anyway, T'Challa's sister visits Pepper Potts, and they decide to work together to expose him. It's pretty much it. We don't get a crazy amount more of him. We do see him later on, but it wasn't a bad episode. I liked the concept. I just found it a bit overpowered of Killmonger being able to pretty much do everything. It was a bit far-fetched, but it's not terrible.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
And now we are getting into actually the really good episodes. Jumping into episode 3, What If the World Lost Its Mightiest Heroes? Now, this episode, again with the convoluted stuff, it is a bit much, but it's not too bad, it's kind of fun. So, as Nick Fury's trying to recruit heroes for the Avengers Initiative, they start to get killed. Natasha Romanoff gives Tony Stark his injection for the poisoning that he's getting from his arc reactor, but for some reason this kills him, and she gets jailed. Well, she doesn't get jailed, but it's suspected. Clint Barton accidentally shoots and kills Thor during the events of Thor, when he has arrow trained on him, and he's thrown in custody, but also dies while in custody. Bruce Banner, during the event of his movie, explodes, and Romanov is attacked and killed while she's trying to figure out the murders. Luckily, before she dies, she's able to give Fury a hint of who's doing this, saying that the murders are related to Hope. Now, killing Thor has consequences, and the Asgardians, who are now led by Loki, come to Earth to avenge him. Fury offers an alliance with him to find and figure out who the killer is, and Fury is able to deduce that the murderer is none other than Hank Pym, using his shrinking technology to get revenge for his daughter dying. Now, in this universe, Hope Van Dyne died while working as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and Pym pretty much lost his mind. He killed Tony by being in the injection. He killed Hulk by putting a growth thingy on his heart. Killed Thor by activating Hawkeye's arrow, which again I have problems with, but it was quite interesting. He just went mad. Fury and Loki confront Pym at Hope's grave. It's kind of a cool sequence where Loki masquerades as Nick Fury, and Pym's arrested, taken into his guardian custody. Now Loki decides to stay on Earth and become its ruler after these events. Fury eventually finds Steve Rogers in Earth and calls Captain Marvel to Earth. All in all, a very interesting episode. I liked the concept, and I think they did it pretty well. But it's really overshadowed by the third best episode of the show. And this is What If Zombies. Now, if you read Marvel Zombies, it's a pretty grim comic. A lot of people die. And it's also kind of humorous. I like it. Now, in this, the change is that while Hank Pym's in the quantum realm, he finds his wife, Janet Van Dyne. However, she's infected with some sort of quantum virus. It's basically a zombie virus. They get back to Earth and cause a zombie apocalypse. All the main heroes get infected, but a group of survivors does manage to get together. And this group of survivors is Bruce Banner, Hope Van Dyne, Peter Parker, Bucky Barnes, Okoye from Wakanda, Sharon Carter, Happy Hogan, and Kurt. Did I brush over Kurt? Yeah, he's not important. He's just I think he's Scott Lang's roommate. Anyway, he's from Ant-Man. They learn that there might be a potential cure at an army camp called Camp Lehigh? Yeah. Along the way, Hogan, Carter, and Hope are killed by zombies, but they actually manage to encounter Vision. They learn that his Mind Stone's able to reverse the virus. He's at the camp and he says it reversed the virus, but you'll see. Scott Lang, the Ant-Man, his head is cured. It's kind of funny. Anyway, they find out that Vision's actually been luring people to feed to Wanda, who's now a zombie. She's immune to the cure, and we also see T'Challa. He's alive, most of him at least. The group's able to rescue him, but Wanda breaks free, kills a few people. She kills Kurt, Okoye, and Barnes, and Vision gives the Mind Stone to Parker, basically committing suicide. Banner goes into the Hulk and sacrifices himself to fight Wanda, and they hope to now broadcast the stone's energy. They all go to Wakanda, to broadcast it. And here we have a bit of a goofy part, but Thanos appears wielding an Infinity Gauntlet that's not complete, and he's a zombie. I don't know how it got to him. Obviously, he maybe came to New York, got infected there, but yeah, it's basically it. It's a good episode. You don't have to take it too seriously. It's fun.
I can't physically throw up in my mouth.
Now we have into the second best episode of the season. Here's where my previous rule comes in. I've combined the second last episode and the last episode as one. I'm placing them here on the list because they are both really good. So I'll go jump into their descriptions. First of all, we have episode 8, What If Ultron Won? Now, Ultron in this universe actually manages to get Vision's vibranium body, takes the Mind Stone, and he beats the Avengers. Launches all the nukes, killing most of humanity. Now, Thanos eventually comes to Earth to try and complete the Infinity Gauntlet, but Ultron, in a epic case of doing something that's completely fucking stupid, is able to cut him in half using the Mind Stone, like it's nothing, and he takes the rest of the Infinity Stones, taking complete control of them all. He creates a drone army that kills almost all the life in his universe. But now, with the power of these Infinity Stones, he's able to do something different. He's able to hear the narrator of these episodes, the Watcher. He learns that there's a multiverse, and he's able to use the stones to attack the Watcher. Now, I'm not sure if this is possible in the comics or anything, but I liked it. It's a fun concept. While this is going on, Hawkeye and Black Widow survived his attacks and managed to find Zola's mind in Siberia from Captain America. They upload Zona into a body to try and destroy Ultron, but this fails because Ultron he's no longer in their universe. He's left to another universe. Hawkeye sacrifices himself to help Black Widow and Zola escape. And while this is going on, Ultron's fighting the Watcher across a whole bunch of different universes, eventually defeating him. And the Watcher flees to Strange Supreme's universe to ask him for help. Now, I'll get into that because that is the best episode of the series. And you'll see more of him in the next episode. But yeah, it's quite good. I like the intro of Ultron. But since it's a two-parter, we jump into the finale. What if the Watcher broke his oath? Now, the Watcher's never supposed to get involved in the worlds that he watches. But this time he has. He builds his own team of multiversal Avengers. We have Strange Supreme, Captain Carter, T'Challa, the Star-Lord version, Thor, Party Thor, and Black Panther Killmonger, along with a version of Gamora who managed to kill Thanos. They're needed to fight Ultron, and he calls them the Guardians of the Multiverse, but they're basically Avengers. They go to Ultron's home universe and meet Natasha, who allows them to shoot Ultron with an arrow containing Zola's mind. Now, Zola destroys Ultron from within and takes control of his body. He then fights Killmonger, because obviously Killmonger's a bad guy, and he betrays the Guardians while trying to take the Infinity Stones for himself. They fight over the stones, and Strange Supreme and the Watcher steal them in their own pocket dimension. Strange makes the sacrifice. I say that in quotation marks, you'll see. They ruin this moment. But for now, he makes a sacrifice to watch over them, to atone in a way. The Watcher sends the people back to their own universes, and Romanoff refuses to return to hers. So instead, the Watcher takes her to one in which the Avengers candidates were assassinated, Loki's universe, and she helps to defeat Loki. We also see in a mid-credit scene that Carter and her Black Widow have discovered the Hydra Stomper armor in the modern day with somebody inside. I assume this is going to be Steve, but we'll see. And yeah, no, I think that was a very good way to end the series. Good way to tie all the characters together, and I would have preferred they do this sort of thing with the later seasons, but they tend to dip into each other too much later on, especially with Captain fucking Carter, but you'll see. Although they kind of pale in comparison to the best episode of the series, and that is what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands. Now, this is a very different concept. In this universe, Doctor Strange is with Christine Palmer, the woman he loves, when his car crashes. Instead of his hands being destroyed, she dies. So Strange still goes through his regular journey. He goes to Kamatage, learns the arts, discovers the Eye of Agamotto, and is warned by the Ancient One and Wong that if he uses the Eye of Agamotto, which is the Time Stone, to change reality too much, he'll destroy it. He still defeats Dormammu and whatever. But no way, he doesn't defeat Dormammu. Never mind. He eventually tries to use the eye to save Palmer, but no matter what he does, she dies. It's like a fixed point, and that's what the Ancient One tells Strange. Her death is an absolute point in the timeline that can't be changed. He decides to go all in on being evil. He uses the power of the Dark Dimension. Okay, cut that past a few minutes. He decides to go all in on being evil, and the Ancient One splits Strange into two versions. One that accepts Palmer's death, and the other eventually goes off to gain power. He becomes Strange Supreme, absorbs these monstrous beings more and more, and grows stronger and stronger. He turns into this monster eventually. It's kind of cool. The corrupted Strange eventually goes after his counterpart and absorbs him, using his power to resurrect Christine Palmer. This act tears reality apart, and here's actually where we see the first fourth wall break with the Watcher. Strange Supreme, through his extreme power, is able to perceive the Watcher and begs him for help, but the Watcher at this point won't intervene. Palmer disintegrates and his universe collapses. It leaves him to grieve alone in this tiny little pocket of his universe. It's a tragic end, and I really liked his characterization. It's not the way regular Strange would react, but it's a very interesting take on him. And his pseudo-redemption in the finales is quite good. A very good way that they could have ended his story, but they didn't, and there's a problem. But that's my ranking for Season 1 of What If. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment down below, and give me recommendations on what to review next. I'll probably be covering Season 2 and 3 after this, but until then, if there's anything else you want me to cover, please let me know. And if you're not happy with my rankings, also let me know. Tell me where you would have ranked certain things, what your favorite is, what your worst is, and whatsoever. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.